From Kurtco Media.
Like every advancement in technology, it's a productivity multiplier. So you will find yourself being able to accomplish so much more on your own in a situation where you might need a whole team of designers. I mentioned earlier how our students are now capable of designing both an interior and exterior of a vehicle, which was not possible for them just 10 years ago.
Right. Hello, and welcome to Cars That Matter. I'm your host, Robert Ross. We all know that cars come from somewhere. Designers put ideas on paper, test theories, and attempt to create something new for the next vehicle. But where do designers come from? For this episode, I went to ArtCenter College of Design in Pasadena, a renowned school of transportation design, and met with Marek Djordjevic, Chair of Transportation Design, to discuss the future of the automobile. Hello, and welcome to Cars That Matter. I'm Robert Ross, and I'm here today at ArtCenter College of Design in Pasadena, California, with my friend and Chair of Transportation Design, Marek Djordjevic. Marek, welcome.
Thank you so much, Robert. Really looking forward to our conversation.
Well, thanks for having us here, kind of in the inner sanctum. Obviously, we're in the midst of one of your studios, surrounded by some incredible drawings. It kind of looks like Porsche Central based on what I'm seeing. And one of the many projects that your students are undertaking in the course of their program. You matriculated from this place years ago, and in fact took the position as chair from Stuart Reed, who'd been here for close to 2 decades in that position. That's a long tenure.
It certainly is, yes. And I myself have been teaching at ArtCenter for over 20 years as well. So it's an interesting time for me as when I walk down the hallways, especially at the Hillside campus.
That was the old one. That was the
Correct.
great old design from Craig Elwood that sort of spans the canyon.
Exactly.
It's an iconic piece of architecture.
Right. It's still very dear to my heart, although this new space has been fantastic for us. We have studios that really help us work with state-of-the-art equipment and pedagogy to deliver incredible results for our students.
Tell me a little bit about what is a student faced with when they come here? This is really, for those who don't know, probably the most rigorous and certainly internationally known automotive design curriculum in the world.
I'll speak from personal experience. I got accepted to ArtCenter without ever having a chance to come visit prior to my first day of school. And as I walked into the student gallery, my jaw dropped because I was looking at work that was so intimidatingly good that I had a very hard time figuring out how in the world would I be able to do this. But over time, with maximal dedication, discipline, and hard work, I became aware that I was capable of doing so much more than ever imagined. And I think that was really the core value of ArtCenter to me. And this is one of the core values that, or the essence of the value of ArtCenter education that I hope to imbue to our students right now. Because it's a place where you come with talent, and the mission of our faculty, of everybody that works here, is to absolutely maximize the potential of the talent that comes to us. So students come very motivated, very driven. It's a very competitive field. There are only very few transportation design programs in the world compared to many other disciplines in visual arts or design.
Sure. Every college offers a fine art program, but
Right.
Very few offer something as substantive as this. So.
Exactly, yeah. And ArtCenter has not only been in that space for a long time. We recently celebrated 75th anniversary.
Amazing. Back
with
cars
Strada
had...
McMinn.
That's right, Strada
That's
McMinn,
right.
and when fins and plexiglass canopies were all the rage, and
Exactly.
Motorama was on the road, and people had big dreams.
Right. Since then, and our origins definitely had strong foundation in the automotive industry. We've had many different partners that have really helped us build a very, very strong, not only fantastic body of faculty, but have supported us in engaging on students in internships, sponsor projects, and so on. So we have an important strategic advantage with our location. We are located in close proximity to many car design studios.
Because everybody wants one in Southern California, because this is where the vocabulary for design, expresses itself. You've got sunshine, every day of the year, and great roads and
car culture.
Car culture, yeah.
And the market.
Yes.
California is still one of the strongest markets for the automobile, at least in the United States.
That's right.
And so we greatly benefit from the proximity of those studios and their willingness to partner with us in education. The magic of ArtCenter education really has to do with the ethos of the founder, Tink Adams, who found it important that the students are taught by working professionals. And that is truly, the source of the impact of the education at ArtCenter, is that the vast majority of our faculty are working car designers.
Marek, what's an example of a successful sponsor project? I recall something at Pebble Beach a few years ago, a Lincoln, that was just mind-blowing.
Oh, yes. Yeah, very good. Particularly, good memory for me, because I was the faculty on the project that you're talking about. It was sponsored by Lincoln. We were challenged by Lincoln to design a quiet flight concept that would speak to the values of the mark of Lincoln into the future. And the project took place during COVID, but it was one of our transdisciplinary studios, which involved students from multiple departments. We had a team of designers.
Outside of the transportation department?
Yes, including students from film and illustration departments.
Oh, wow.
Because the deliverables for the project during COVID, we could not do physical models. So the idea was to have a compelling story as an animation.
Oh.
So film students were there to help with the story of the project, illustration students designing the characters and the environments for the film, and transportation students designing the exterior and the interior.
And all of this was done independently, remotely, and virtually.
Yes, and the necessity, mother of invention, had us in a very wonderful moment because for the final presentation, we were joined on our Zoom call with Jim Farley, CEO of Ford.
Yeah.
And as one of the teams presented their project, he was particularly taken with it, calling it one of the most beautiful cars he's seen in recent time. And so that resulted in Lincoln going forward with making that model in full scale.
Good heavens.
And then gifting it to us.
Well, that was quite a commitment of theirs. I mean, what a demonstration of faith in a concept.
Absolutely. And what an opportunity for our students. Can you imagine?
That's right.
Being a designer, a budding young designer with hopes for a career in the automotive industry, getting your design made in full size.
It's like, finally, passing the bar, and next week you have to be in front of the Supreme Court and you win the case.
Right. Yeah.
An
Very
amazing
talented designer, Amy Taniguchi, was responsible for the exterior of that project.
So what are some of the other disciplines beside car design that you focus on here?
So we've had a really great success with including other modes of transportation in our curriculum, including marine design, aviation, aerospace, as well as power sports. And there too, we have had a lot of projects with, sponsored by industry. One example would be we had a project with NASA and JPL for a lunar rover. I happen to have taught that class, actually, and one of the graduates is currently one of the top designers at SpaceX.
That's unbelievable. So really, not the rover we see on the street, but the rover we see on the moon or Mars or wherever.
Hopefully on Mars,
yeah. That is an incredible thing. That's an incredible thing. So really, skill sets are brought to bear that might be applied to any number of different industries, but with very, very specific needs and applications. That sort of, for me, begs the question, I'm looking around and seeing what appears to be an incredible project that's somehow affiliated with Porsche, re-envisioning what some of the classic Porsche 911 or 914 designs might be. We're surrounded by some really skilled drawings. I mean, some are pen and ink, some are markers, some are pencil, some are quite casual, some are quite elaborate. But clearly, you're teaching fundamental eye-hand skills here that have nothing to do with computer-generated art. Am I correct?
Yes, it's part of the fundamental skills that the students kind of acquire and then grow and mastering as they go through the program. We absolutely utilize the latest technology, digitally and otherwise, in part of the process of designing their projects, whatever they may be, interior, exterior, wheeled or not. But one of the fundamental skills is exactly what is standing out to you right now, which is the sketching. So what we call ideation sketching is early in the process of design, after you've done enough research to inform yourself about the subject that you're designing for, about the customers you're designing for, about the brand that you're designing for, the purpose of the vehicle, and so on. You start putting down on paper these ideas in rapid and expressive ways.
It's sort of the cocktail napkin, if you would.
Sometimes, although we prefer smoother texture.
Okay.
But it's usually that during that process, you come across a particular sketch or two that end up being key to the essence of the project. So we end up calling it a key sketch. And the virtue then that we cultivate is being able to carry on the very character and the essence of the sketch or the design in that sketch all the way through to the final design, because it really carries the spirit that captures the project, captures the concept or the goal of the design.
Yeah, that's an interesting crossover, because you look at something, in the fine art world, you look at Leonardo's famous cartoon. It's hardly a cartoon, it's a drawing of the Virgin St. Anne. And then you look at the final painting, Virgin and St. Anne, and you say to yourself, maybe this ideation, maybe this cartoon, this sketch is in some ways greater, in fact, than the painting itself. Now, in the world of automotive design, you hope that the final product is actually greater than the initial sketch, but you do want that essence to be carried through. You want there to be some takeaway moment, something really special.
Yes. So indeed, when potential employers from the industry come and view the student work, whether it's for internships or employment at our grad show, they look at many different things to kind of get to know the designer through their work. But a couple of things that are particularly important is the sketching ability and how prolific the students are with their ideas. The other one is the translation of an idea from paper to 3D. So whether it's from a sketch or a rendering, from that kind of a 2D design development, then needs to be accurately translated into 3 dimensions and ultimately into a model and a final product. And that alone is a skill that needs cultivating, training until achieving mastery. So it's wonderful to kind of see our students grow over the many semesters that they undertake here in their ability to do that successfully. And I would argue that our students and indeed our graduates today are most certainly more capable than ever in the past of the program. And to prove that, I would point to the fact that so many of our graduates will be designing concept or production vehicles within a couple of years of getting their job after graduating from ArtCenter.
So they're not going to be stuck in the door handle design department for 20 years until they matriculate to a more substantive position. Is that because technology itself has allowed things to happen so much more quickly?
That's absolutely true. It's part of it. We have been, as well as in the industry, under pressure to design faster and better.
Everybody wants a new car every 3 years. It used to be 10 years now.
And so the process is quite rapid, and technology has a lot to do with it. At every aspect of the process, technology has helped students also accomplish more. For example, for many years, we would let students focus on either an interior or an exterior on a particular project. But in recent years, it's been possible for them to accomplish both within the same project. And
because of rapid prototyping and the kinds of things that they can learn and do with in a shorter period of time, is that right?
Well, it has to do, in that particular case, more with the very accessible software, where their learning curves are fast and their interfaces are effective for them to be able to very rapidly generate their designs in 3D and put them together. So that helps them also to understand the relationship of an interior with an exterior.
These used to be very different skill sets, different positions within companies, but you're saying that your students really are fully equipped to tackle most of these things in a capable way.
Yes, they are. And to add one more aspect to the ones that you've mentioned, there is a very much growing field of 3D visualization.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means basically you'll see their designs complete, whether it's in physical 3 dimensions or digital 3D, being animated into storytelling pieces that really sell and communicate the purpose, the character, the intent, the use case scenario of the vehicle that they've designed.
You know, I was going to ask you that, Marek, because generally you think of a great designer or an artist kind of sitting in their room working alone and not having to interact that much with their public or their subject or their customer. Am I hearing it right that your students today are more engaged in actually selling their ideas or being able to communicate why that idea is actually substantive and worth pursuing?
Absolutely.
Than ever before?
Yes. Part of it has to do with the fact that, you know, it's a common preconception that creatives are introverted. But in our field, it's incredibly important to articulate what you do and why you do it. Our design studio classes are typically involving students presenting their work on a weekly basis in front of an audience and then receiving feedback or critique, if you will, that helps them improve the work that they were presenting, that they're working on, the projects that they're working on. And this helps them find a way to both sell the design that they're working on, but also the more they think about it, the more they understand it, the more they're able to improve it.
Because eventually they're going to have to get up in front of a board who's going to make quick decisions based on what they see and hear.
Yes, that's exactly true. So storytelling is a very important aspect in the development of that project and in the presentation of the project. And it's exactly the way that we ask our students, particularly in the 8th term, so in the graduating term when they're finished their studies, they focus on approaching the project in a way that they would have to sell to a board of directors, right? Convince the company to spend billions of dollars of investment on this product, right? So we focus a lot on articulating the essence of the concept, the purpose of the concept, the character, who it's for, who is the customer, how would they use it, how would they benefit from it.
You know, it sounds to me like this is going a whole lot deeper than design. And it's complicated too by technology. The obvious question is, as we sort of move from ICE powertrains to electric and who knows what, how do these sort of real technology underpinnings affect the design mindset?
They certainly have their impact, but I think that in recent years, we've been undergoing a paradigm shift from what originally started with you'd have the technology, then you do the design, and you'd end up with an experience for the customer or the user. That is now flipping around to where you start with what experience do you want the customer to have, doing the design that would achieve that experience, and then applying the correct technology to deliver the experience.
If I'm not putting words in your mouth, I mean, when you were working with Rolls-Royce, you created not only the series production Phantom 7, but you also created the 100EX, which was a whole different kettle of fish, 2 completely different cars. You started with the design first?
So in that particular case, the challenge was threefold. First of all, we needed to create a first new Rolls-Royce under the own stewardship of BMW. Second, we would be designing a vehicle that would be the first Rolls-Royce of the 21st century. And third was this would be the only product on the market by the mark that at the time when we were celebrating the 100th year anniversary.
That's right.
So the centenary of Rolls-Royce.
That's right.
So many challenges, but very inspiring. I had to, at the same time, carry the heritage, embody the history, and yet be the modern expression for the modern day market and use. And it was very much a matter of balancing the human artistry as well as the state-of-the-art technology. In fact, you mentioned 100EX, and I thought that the bonnet of that car particularly symbolized exactly that. We milled it from a single piece, single block of aluminum.
That's right.
Which at the start weighed as much as your regular car, but milled down to something that's light that you can pick up by yourself.
Paper thin.
But the when we milled it, the milling marks on the underside of the bonnet were just so beautiful.
Like engine turning almost.
Exactly. Yeah. That we decided to leave it intact. Whereas the outer surface was hand brushed by a craftsman for 2 weeks.
So it's really the best of handmade artisanry and the most beautiful machining possible.
Exactly.
What a great combination of things. What do you think are some of the most promising developments in both design and technology that will allow cars to continue to be as exciting as they've been in the past?
Yes, there are multiple, in multiple dimensions, that's true. Anywhere from the use of innovative materials to processes in manufacturing, to different fuels and powertrains, but also different modality of use. And specifically, I think we are on a brink of a wider application of autonomous driving scenarios. And the impact that that will have, I think, is still to be seen. But most importantly, I think, allowing us to think of and dream of different experiences that one can have in a vehicle once your sole focus is not actual driving.
Marek, there have been some remarkable cars created in the 20th century, and certainly in ours, and obviously in the future. But when I think back on some of the most notable designs, is it possible for a contemporary or future designer to have the impact of a Giugiaro or a Gandini?
I think that there is possibility to that that might relate directly to the emerging topic of AI. Like every advancement in technology, it's a productivity multiplier. So you will find yourself being able to accomplish so much more on your own, where, you know, in a situation where you might need a whole team of designers. I mentioned earlier how our students are now capable of designing both an interior and exterior of a vehicle, which was not possible for them just 10 years ago.
Right.
And because of the impact of internet, making knowledge so accessible to everybody, we are noticing a trend among our recent graduates in developing whole cars on their own. And for example, I would mention the Brighton brothers of Oil Stain Lab with a half in lemon and HF11 that they're just coming out with, as well as Sasha Selipanov and his venture with Nilu. And it's incredible to see how capable our graduates are if they put their minds and their dedication and, of course, their passion into it. I have this thing that describes the history of the automobile and how different disciplines drove the industry at a different period of time. And it starts with the inventor, right? In 1886 and forward for a while, horseless carriage. How do we make this thing go on its own, right? Without any horses. That's followed by the industrialist, right? Who then kind of scales this vehicle that's been invented in multiple iterations. The Model T, you know, John Agnelli, Henry Ford, and so on. Then followed by the engineers, right? We go through World War II, huge ramp up in engineering technology and so on. So the engineers start leading the way. Arguably, designers came very close to taking over that driving role in the 60s. But then we got the fuel crisis.
Right.
The oil crisis.
1973 put everything on hold.
Right.
No more muscle cars, no more performance, no more racing.
The bean counters took over.
Yes, they did.
Right. So throughout the 70s, it was, you know, the finance driving the business. In the 80s, it was marketing.
Right.
In the 90s, I would say it was product planning.
And product placement.
Well, and that's with Hollywood and so on, right?
Yeah, right.
In 2000s, it's the billionaires. They're really driving the business, right? And all along, I am thinking, designers should, at some point, be the ones taking over the role of driving the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So my challenge to our students is to be the ones who take the responsibility of bringing design into the leadership position of the automotive industry.
Mm-hmm. What a remarkable glimpse into a storied institution, and it's fascinating to hear how things are moving forward and to get a chance to speak with you. Marek, I want to thank you for a great conversation. Are you thinking about building a car collection, but you really aren't sure where to start? Here's a car within reach from Hemmings that can become your garage gold. The 2008 to 2013 BMW M3. Before BMW turned to an all-turbocharged engine lineup, its final normally aspirated M3 had a doozy of an engine under the hood. It was called the S65, an all-aluminum V8 that hit its peak power at 8,300 RPM on its way to an 8,400 RPM redline. Buyers for BMW's sportiest car at the time could opt for a manual or a dual-clutch automatic transmission, as well as a coupe, sedan, or convertible. Few cars do everything well like an M3, and the E90, E92 version has been somewhat lost among collectors pining for either earlier versions or those looking for the latest, greatest turbocharged models. Prices for this exotic engine M car fall between $25,000 and $55,000, heavily dependent on mileage, options, and of course, condition. So what if you don't want to buy the whole car? I'm here with Lachlan DeFrancesco, Chief of Cars at MCQ Markets. I'm interested, Lachlan. MCQ Markets lets investors get into the collector car market without really buying the whole car. Explain how that works.
Exactly. So we want to take the burden away from, maintenance, storage, insurance, all the kind of headaches that you do have from owning these kind of cars.
I look around your site and I see some incredible cars, some of the ones you've spoken about. I know recently Countach sold, and you've got a Diablo coming up to the plate pretty soon. Tell us about those cars.
Well, so yes, the Diablo was the last Lamborghini, right? Not done with partnership in Audi, but ours was actually the first Lamborghini done with Audi. It was the 6.0 VT. It's the bigger engine. It's the last of the Diablo series. They made 337 of them. Ours was lucky enough to get one of the 5 OEM Lamborghini GT kits that didn't go on to one of the 80 GTs. I love the VT 6.0. It's got the Audi kind of looks to it with the lights and stuff, but the GT just makes it so much more aggressive, everything about it.
Well, that's fascinating. Everybody knows that cars depreciate. So how do you identify the ones that actually have some potential for upside, and how do you acquire them for MCQ Markets?
I mean, look, there's lots of things to look at. There's rarity, there's the legacy of the car brand, there's certain cars that have a niche, right? For example, a Lexus LFA, right? That's not everybody's cup of tea, but that's something that's just kind of exploded in the last 10 years. I mean, they were $375,000 new. They kind of hovered around that price point for 5 or 6 years, and then just before COVID, these cars doubled in price, right? It's just, they're now going for just around $1 million. When we go to acquire them, we do have a lot of dealers, collectors, private collections that we are in touch with. Obviously, we do study all the auction houses, all the bring-a-trailer sales, all of that stuff. So we are monitoring, I'd like to say, the entire market as a whole.
Well, certainly the notion is to buy low and sell high, and obviously you have those inroads in various places. That's every investor's dream, no matter what they're investing in. My understanding that younger investors are putting more of their investment allocation into non-traditional assets like cars and other collectibles. That's good news.
It's great to see that people are getting into the car side. It is growing. Everyone just wants to be able to own a piece of these things.
Let's say I'm really interested in jumping into the market, but I don't have 6 figures. How does somebody get involved with MCQ Markets?
Look, so we try to make it as simple as possible for you guys. www.mcqmarkets.com. You sign up, you make an account, you do some KYC, and once you do that, you're ready to invest. For as little as $100, you can own a piece of, well, right now you can own a Lexus LFA, you could own a 512 BBI with just 800 kilometers.
Well, sure appreciate your time, Lachlan. Thanks very much for introducing us to MCQ Markets and some of the great cars in your portfolio. I should mention, by the way, that if you're a VIP investor and you know who you are, email directly to Tom at mcqmarkets.com. That's Tom at mcqmarkets.com. On my next episode, tune in for a fascinating discussion between former Rolls-Royce designers Marek Djordjevic and Andreas Thurner. Cars That Matter is a Kurtco Media production. I'm your host, Robert Ross. The show is produced by Bill Curtis and Stuart Halpern, with audio and video production by Ness Smith-Sabadoff, and additional support from Melody Larson, Lindsay Davis, Deborah Smith, and AJ Mosley. To listen to more episodes of Cars That Matter, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you like this episode, be sure to rate us 5 stars to help other listeners discover the show. For exclusive video episodes, visit hemmings.com/cars that matter.
From Kurtco Media.